Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. It's been a while since we updated you on the progress of our teak deck, so we decided to make a video. We're now on the O2 level, just forward of the expansion joint, which is roughly midships in the superstructure. Think the space between the two funnels, and that's where we are right now. So far this winter, our teak crew has completely redone this area on the starboard side, and now they're working here on the port side. This area has been particularly difficult because we've had a lot of water intrusion issues in the spaces directly below this one. Some of them are berthing spaces, some of them are exhibit spaces now, but both our expansion joint was leaking, also the deck around it. Here in the superstructure, the deck is something like a 1/4 inch thick. It varies from place to place, but it's relatively thin compared to the bulk of the main deck, where it's 1.5 inch STS. This is all light, mild steel up here. The ship does not shed water the way she was supposed to. Remember, she's got deck drains in place, but the idea was the ship would be at sea pitching and rolling, so that water is sloshing around, moving to deck drains. Instead, we sit permanently, so the water goes to low spots and it just sits there. The wood rots, the wood absorbs the water like a sponge, and then the water doesn't evaporate. It is held against the steel by that like mulchy wood that's left over. And so the steel corrodes even quicker. Large parts of this area were not redecked in the 80s, so that wood dates back to the 60s, 50s, and 40s primarily. And so it's been rotting and holding water for a very long time. And so if you look at the deck right now, you can see that it's relatively repaired. We went in and we welded doubler plates over this whole area. And part of why this part of the ship is taking so long is that we've had to double it. Now, oftentimes best practice would be to crop out and renew the steel. A lot of the steel here, even if it didn't have a hole in it, was extremely thin and flexed a lot underfoot when we pulled the teak up. So if it hasn't failed yet, it's going to fail in the near future. We couldn't afford to spend the money to crop out all of that because it also means pulling back all the wiring that's directly below it, all the framing that's directly below it, all the insulation and the plumbing that's directly below it. And then after we've pulled it all back, weld the new plate down, and then weld it back in place. And that would have destroyed a ton of original features and a lot of the original part of the ship. And so we made the decision to just weld a doubler plate over the whole area. Another way that that decision benefited us is over here. You can see the base ring for one of our original 5-inch mounts. This ring was raised, I don't know, a 1/4 inch, maybe a 1/2 inch proud from the deck. And so there was some really complex cutting out of the underside of the teak boards that were there when they were first laid down. But in welding down the doubler plate, we've now made this relatively smooth so we can just deck over it completely smoothly. And so that really benefits us in the amount of time and labor it's going to take to lay this wood. And we're not buying a ton of expensive teak and then shaving out most of the bottom to make it fit flush here. You notice right next to me is one of our heaters. And while this is an exterior space, if you look up, you'll see that we've like tented the whole area in. We specifically chose this area to do over winter and the matching area on the opposite side because it's surrounded on 3 sides by superstructure. And so knowing that it was going to get below freezing, and our paints, our adhesives, they don't like to work below 50 degrees. I don't remember the specific application bulletins for each of the items, but 50 degrees is a pretty sound estimate for most liquids that you're going to apply during your restoration projects. So we need to keep this space heated and enclosed. They couldn't work here over the winter. So we finished the main deck, which is much more difficult to enclose, over the summer. And then during the winter, we came to an area that we can enclose. We can put a couple of these 440 volt heaters in, and heat it. Now as the paint is drying, as the glue is drying, this is really helping it out. Another thing that's worth mentioning, these are some of the explosives lockers that were mounted on the deck here. It would be really easy for us to cut all that away and then not replace it. But notice, we brought it over here and we're in the process of repainting them. All of the features that we remove are going to be welded back down so that the ship retains her original configuration. We don't want to do the easy thing and just cut it all off and sell it in the store. We are replacing all of the original features in their correct positions so that the ship's restoration is going to be just that, a restoration. We're restoring it to how it was. Speaking of buying things in the store though, as part of the restoration here, you'll notice we found things like plumbing that was completely wasted and there was no salvaging what was there. So we had to cut it off, and now we're going to put new plumbing back on. Actually, I think that'll be a 90 that goes over that way. I don't quite remember. So we are restoring all of that too. These things that couldn't be saved and just put back on, we are cutting up and selling in the store. Of course, the teak that we've ripped up, we're also selling in the store. So if you want an original piece of Battleship New Jersey, there's a link in the description below. We've got teak, we've got a handful of metal pieces. With the teak, we're ripping up close to 43,000 square feet. It's something like an acre of teak that we're cutting up. With the metal, there's a very limited amount of it available. I'm not even sure if it's on the online store or if we're just selling it in person. But keep an eye out for those original projects. They'll look great in your Battleship New Jersey collection. And all of the money that you spend on that goes back into the redecking efforts. So by buying this, you get something cool and you get to support the ongoing restoration efforts of Battleship New Jersey. These efforts aren't just making the ship look good, it's making the deck safe to walk on, it's making the ship more watertight, and we are restoring all of the original features. One other thing that we're doing as part of the redecking project is we're painting all of the superstructure around the deck. Now, obviously, we don't want to lay a new deck and then 2 years from now decide, hey, we got to paint this, and then spill a bunch of paint all over the deck. So as we're going around, we're painting all the superstructures, and you can see that very clearly with these areas that are primed with this Rust-Oleum primer here. So this is not just a redecking project, it is a complete restoration. In addition to the work we did in dry dock on the underwater part of the hull, we're in the process of repainting all of the above water parts of the hull. And we have now done the majority of the ship over the last 5 years or so, from the 08 level of the superstructure down to the very bottom of the ship, both inside and out. I cannot get over the difference between when I started working on this ship 7 or 8 years ago and the amount of restoration work that we've put in since. And quite frankly, we can't do this. We don't do this through ticket sales. The only way we've managed to do this is through you guys' support. The amount of support that the Battleship has gotten over the last 5 years compared to the preceding 20 years just absolutely blows my mind. And it's your ongoing support that allows us to keep doing these restoration efforts. And we really appreciate it, because you're not just saving it for me, you're certainly not just saving it for yourself when you come on board. You're saving it for your children and your grandchildren, because the ship is still going to look good generations from now when they come on board, thanks to all the support you guys have given us. It's been a while since we did any sort of restoration updates. Let us know in the comment section down below if you'd like to see more updates like that. It's been a while since we talked about why battleships have teak decks. Let us know if you're new to the channel and you need to hear that information again. There are some past videos out there. Feel free to go back and watch them. But we'd love to hear what you think in the comment section down below. And also let us know what you've used your Battleship teak for. Did you use it as a base for your model? Did you spin a pen out of it? Let us know in the comment section. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to donate to continue supporting the ongoing restoration efforts of Battleship New Jersey. You can also support us by liking, sharing, subscribing so more people find about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.